Hello everybody, my name is Squaggy and we're a little late on this one, but I still want to get this out. As we ring in the new year, what could we do but reminisce on the past instead? The future is scary, but the past is safe and reminds me of a time when I was happier and younger and therefore didn't know about things. About 4 weeks ago I asked a very simple question. With Vanguard's 15-year mark coming out, they're gonna start milking us for our nostalgia, and the worst part is, it'll probably work on us. So, what nostalgic encounters do you hope to see next year? Here's my answer. Leopal is one of the first few big Great Nature bosses. He's pretty iconic. He has a reverse form, which is also pretty good in the V series with Leopal Reverse. And in Standard right now, we don't have a representation for Zoo. While Stoichia as a whole is a combination of Zoo and all the water decks, like Aqua Force and Grand Blue in the Mega that one. We don't have one for Zoo, which is like the Great Natures, the Neonectars, the Mega Colonies. We don't have one of those representations, and I think Leopal would be the perfect fit. He's not as scary as reintroducing something like Darkface back to the game. It's just Leopal. It's our boy Leopal. But when they do that, they better bring back the plus 4,000 mechanic and not the freaking lottery mechanic. Like, what is that? How is that even school related? Anyways, let's see what you guys came up with. Celeste has a good one. Tsukuyomi. Did you know that as of recording this video, Tsukuyomi from Vanguard has more representation in Shadowverse Evolve than Vanguard? Like, come on, this is an iconic unit used by Misaki back in the original anime. It got an off-screen fight in V, if that counts. In Standard, where there is a literal ride deck, bringing back one of the most iconic ride chain units would be a really good idea, right? I guess it kind of has overlapped gameplay-wise with the Battle Sisters deck, but nobody is playing Battle Sisters because that deck is stuck in a PR hell, where you have to have the PR for the boss unit and a bunch of random Battle Sisters scattered across time and space. If you print Tsukuyomi in an encounter set, people can have access to the cards, and you will probably see people play more with the whole future prediction mechanic that Battle Sister tries to do. What am I saying? It's not Battle Sister, it's Divine Sister. I'm getting all my wires crossed with Vanguard now and Vanguard before. But yeah, I'm always surprised this isn't out yet. Maybe they're scared of like ramifications with Coco or something, but if they were scared about ramifications with Coco, they would have never printed Minerva. So I don't really think power balance is on Bushiroad's mind when they're thinking of the encounters to bring. Jeff Dunbar says, if we're talking about encounters, we are long due for Chaos Breaker Dragon. This is one that gets forecasted a lot. It's always, we're gonna get CBD this set. CBD next set. I guess we don't really have a real lock deck in the format that isn't Artisaria, and even then Chaos Breaker would probably play pretty differently if it was unlocked to retire, gain card advantage, etc, etc. And could go a lot harder in on the lock mechanic. I think this would be a really good idea, but it also feels like a break glass in case of bankruptcy kind of deal. If the wallets of Bushiroad CEO Kidani runs dry, they just print Chaos Breaker Dragon and he can afford a yacht. So they might be saving it for like a rainy day. And who knows if we're at the point of Standard, not where the power level of the game can handle a full control deck like Chaos Breaker Dragon, but can the player base accept the fact that every once in a while they must queue up into a control deck? I don't think we're ready for it. We are very whiny of a player base. I have a pretty funny anecdote where Claude B was telling me that she played against a pretty new player to Vanguard in general on Artisaria in a tournament setting, and she had to explain on the spot what lock was, and she had to be like reverse Kai, being like,
your lock unit cannot function in battle. It cannot move, it cannot intercept, it is stuck there forever.
And that probably is a pretty bad feeling for both players at the table. But hey, if you are feeling good, you wouldn't be playing Vanguard. But hey, a lot of people really like CVD and like the lock mechanic and the different playstyle it brings. Surely something interesting can be done so that he's not a complete threat and not completely a joke either. Darking says, with Brawlers being announced and revealed very soon. Oh god, how long ago was this? I'm now huffing the strongest copium to see my boys Revengers or Bluish Flames as D-Legions in Standard. So I don't like this answer in theory, just because I don't like the fact that Keter Sanctuary just keeps getting more and more encounters with all these cool mechanics. It's Keter Sanctuary, Dragon Empire, Keter Sanctuary, Dragon Empire, and in fairness, they were the really popular nations in general when they were United Sanctuary back during the G era, back during Legion era. As far you trail it back, and the human race has always loved knights and dragons, so naturally these are the most popular decks to play. But I kind of wish we got other decks like we gave other decks a chance to shine in standard format, but we have so many encounters in standard right now that it might be a bit redundant to bring back the Bluish Flames or the Revengers necessarily, especially when they wouldn't play very differently from what the encounters we already kind of have are. Maybe Bluish Flame plays the most differently, in like they have a really strong center line and the Gold Paladin kind of call mechanic isn't. It can be made more interesting than what we have now. I might just be saying that because I got into the game early G and a friend of mine was on Prominence Glare/Core, and I remember being so upset that it gained crit and I couldn't like guard properly against it. So maybe I just don't want to see these guys back. But I guess if you're looking for popular legions, these are up there. There's no reason why they wouldn't be brought back on the grounds of popularity themselves. I'm pretty sure the Percival line, those are pretty popular because of V series as well, right? Like they have a really strong V core that has been hit on the list in premium, so these do have a bit of a cult of personality behind them. Zenith says, Ahsha Strike deck gotta come out soon. Stoy mains have not been well since the Levy meta has been gone. Hey, you can play Zorka right now and win sometimes if your name is Wolfram VG. Ahsha should be in the game, right? Like, I was forecasting this the whole year in 2025 and it never came to fruition. Her and Outmao just refused to come out of the Bushi Road vault. And I think you could do it one of two ways. Obviously, Ahsha Outmao would be the ideal way. It brings all of Tri-Tree back. But you could also do Ahsha Gabrielle as like the two rivals and two very popular units that people like. So it is surprising to me that Ahsha isn't out yet. And I do think we don't have a really big like power deck, if that makes sense. We don't have like a deck that revolves around the conceit of Neon Nectar calling a bunch of the same names and then casting Bloom effects so that their center lines and sides get really big. We don't really have that in Standard, especially not really in Stoichia as far as I know. Maybe like Magnolia comes close, but even then it's more like death by 1,000 cuts, and you can give power using Ginsula or Mayarashi, for example. This is going to be one of our big chances to make Striding good again. Striding right now is in a pretty tough spot, even if the new cards, Shiranui and Lord, are just kind of like hovering around, they're just okay. A lot of Shiranui players, like, if they do their locus reports and they win a lot, they just say, oh, I didn't even stride Muujin Lord once, or like, I strode him once and that was it. So this is gonna be the time that we can bring in some new, fresh strides and show that we really care about a mechanic that is so beloved by the community. Striding is really fun, like, this is such a shoo-in. Why did they not make one last year? I don't get it. He was in Skyride. We are due. I am shocked that he wasn't in DZBT12. I guess all the space had to go to Alcazar and giving toys another triple rare because the deck isn't good enough. But Amon should really be in Standard right now. In case you're unfamiliar, in Skyride, not only is he played, but he's given really like kind of comprehensive effects, at least his Vanguard'S. It really plays in the manga like how you would expect a modern day Amon to be. You gain a ton of effects based on the number of cards in your soul, you get a really high number of cards in the soul, and it's surprising that it's not back. Demon World Marquee Amon is a pretty iconic unit. It has like a Legion, it got back in the V series, it has a reverse unit, and I think Vanguard doesn't do a good job these days of having freaks. It is obviously a little easier to sell if your cards are kind of clean and more cool than ugly and freaky, and I think Amon is more in that latter category where he can kind of sometimes stray away from cool and more towards freaky, but I think that's a really fun design space to explore aesthetically, and Vanguard just doesn't do that. We really like, you know, pretty women, cool knights, and we just don't want to get into ugliness, and I think ugliness is a really good way to explore an aesthetic, really good way to explore gameplay designs. Of course, Amon is gonna like feed on the souls of his allies and gain so much power and disrupt your board and hand as well, because he's a freak. This is just a giveaway answer. Everyone is waiting for Amon to come back, and personally I am too. There's no way they printed those Doreen the thrusters for me to just use in Lukier, right? Casey Alex says, the things I would do to finally hold her Stride deck set in my hands. Chocho is cool because Chocho has a real shot. One of the theories is that they're bringing back a bunch of Stride deck sets based on who got trial decks back in the original G era, and Chocho did get one of them. The only issue I would have with Chocho as like a Stride deck set is that she plays in like a way that requires her archetype name, and Strides don't get a lot of support as is. So you're gonna have to, from the get-go, print a ton of Chocho names so that she's playable out the gate, and that you always feel like you're hitting the skill, always feel like you're playing within the engine itself and not just relying on the bunch of really good lyrical generics. The downside to that is then there's a lot less exploration and deck building sometimes because you just put in the best cards to say Chocho with very little room for tech because you don't want to brick on not having a Chocho name. But I do think she's a good fit. She's kind of late G era, so her skills are a bit more kind of more Lord-esque, where they play a bit more in a way where with a bit of crest buffing in Standard, they could be good as is. Frequently what I find is that playing something like Chrono Jet or like Hari can get kind of iffy because they're a bit earlier in the G era, with the stride skills are still a bit limited. But Chocho has a pretty good efficient GB1. The stride skill is fine. It always gives you a positive plus. So I don't know. If it had to be anyone, I'd be very happy if it was her. It would just have to be like, you have to handle the Chocho thing very well. And it'd be really bad if they took that away from her, because then you're just playing the hollowed out flesh suit of Chocho rather than actually playing her, right? Sorry, I keep calling her Chocho. Tirua is her name. But yeah, you don't want to play the hollowed out husk of Tirua who just says it but has a completely different skill and a completely different game plan around not having the Chochos in the deck. You want to play Chocho as, you know, as they intended back in, what was it, 2014? And you want to do it now. I think that would be the best way we can go about it, and it would be really tough to stick the landing, but I hope they do. You know, if they ever make the lyrical stride deck set. Or we can just sit on having no lyrical stride deck set forever. Whatever, who cares? Who cares about this nation anyway? Who cares? Not them, not Bushiroad, so why should we? Sunfall says, I want to fight them one last time. I know I just came off a ramble about how Keter Sanctuary doesn't deserve nice things. This is probably the one exception I would give it. It's the Witches. They didn't do anything the first time round. I don't even think they did anything in V series either. You can bring the Witches back. They play differently enough from the rest of the Keter suite and play very differently from what the other Paladin-like decks. So we can bring them back. It's fine. I think they're a cool aesthetic to bring back anyways. We don't really have big witch-like characters in Standard, do we? I guess we have Celsira, you know, if you like being stuck in PR hell. Chewy says, I know there's so many royal encounters, but I need the goat to return. Okay, this is an answer. I think we can't bring him back unless we have Daigo back, right? Can we get him back? Can we get Daigo back? It's interesting. I think it could work. Sanctuary Guard is a great one deck. Isn't really a niche that's filled yet, I think, in Standard. Maybe Ritual and Lord is the closest you get. You know, we can make it a stride deck set. And one more Daigo set. That's what we need. We need another Daigo set with him. And what was the guy in G called? The one that was just Sanctuary Guard Dragon but on a G unit. That one was good. That one was really strong with the Jewel Knight engine. Yeah, bring that back. Bring back Sword Me as well. Who cares? Just bring back Jewel Knights and Sword Me with Sanctuary Guard Dragon and let me play that deck one more time. Well, it probably won't happen since 99% of the player base begins frothing at the mouth when they hear the words V format. Okay, caught. It will be kind of cool to see the few original designs from V brought back. I think they're pretty cool and interesting, all things considered. I don't know who this one is. Gunning Colio? I know Isabel. Yeah, I know Malkuth Melef. He's hella cool. And yeah, Uranus. I think Valkyrion would be like the #1 deck we bring back, right? For a V encounter deck set. The Valkyrion deck set or the Astral Poet deck set. I think that has the most potential. I would take Isabel on the same grounds that we need a Zoo mechanic back. And I would take Malkuth Melef on the fact that he's super cool and I really like him. Yeah, Newman Scholar says it right here. Bushi, my life will be yours. Yeah. Gabrielle is like free money, right? If they ever need money, they break that glass and then the Gabrielle G set comes out and boom, they make $1 million. Gabrielle is such a cool aesthetic. It's an angel feather who is an asshole, right? That's kind of the gimmick. That might not be the exact lore about it, but that's the vibe she gives off, right? She's an angel feather. She does play with all the nursing, like she does have all those nursing mechanics and healing mechanics, but at the end of the day, she's a bit of a meaner case, you know, a bit more edge to her. And that makes her really cool. She's a fan favorite for reasons that you would expect from angel feather units and also units like Gabrielle, who are pretty women. But she also plays pretty interestingly. I really like the GB2 as a defensive skill. We don't have a lot of those in Standard to our detriment, and we should. Yeah, I think it'd be a really interesting thing to bring back. You probably will not get Geese with her, so don't get excited about that. But I could see, like, Gabrielle coming back and really bringing back the mechanic where you play with the damage zone. A lot of the new cards in DCPT 12 kind of hint towards that, but I wouldn't be particularly excited that definitely heralds her arrival. True. Here on YouTube, Elliot says Chronofang would be sick, to be fair. Chronofang would not happen probably just because he got like one set in the spotlight and then just became Chrono Jet's long forgotten cousin. But I think in the same vein of me really wanting a Claret Sword deck set, the Chronofang Claret Sword deck set will go crazy. They were like two of the earliest antagonists in G. That would be cool. Chronofang's niche is kind of already eaten up by the new, like, Growing Dragon kind of, though, so I'd be a bit skeptical of them ever bringing that back. Of course, with the idea that they would ever even consider bringing him back in the first place. But no, Chronofang deserves a little better. He got, like, his time in the spotlight in G for, like, a season. He was Ryozu's deck in V, and then never got anything else beyond that. So I don't know, I feel like we could do more with Chronofang. It's a shame they never went any further than that, made it like a recurring card that appeared all the time. So a Stride deck set would be a great way for me to feel like I can finally afford Chronofang in the year 2026. Winning Image says Blau. Blau would be kind of interesting. Blau is like one of the earlier Nova Grappler ride chains, just like Tsukuyomi. Why aren't we bringing back the ride chains? There's a ride deck. This is like a shoe-in, right? And they had kind of a center line restander in Nova Grappler, which I guess makes sense. And it's kind of Vanguard'S niche now. But Blau did it first, and even with Vanguard masks, nobody is playing that guy, so bring back Blau. It's fine. We can bring them back. Oscar Calento says, Deleters. I've always thought they'd be a strong deck to beat with their delete ability, and with a few decks that need their face-up Vanguard to do some of the strategies, it will be tough, not meta, but difficult if you're not prepared. Deleters are so cool. Aesthetically, again, we need freaks. They can do all these weird things because they are freaky. I know it's kind of like Draw Jewel's thing now to put your Vanguard to 0, and it's Blank the Myers thing to remove the skills entirely. But the leaders did both, and they were not very good for a long time. And I don't think we're ever super good. I think they're playable in Premium in Deleter Messiah, but you'll have to check me on that one. But for a long time, I remember Deleters kind of being like this joke, especially when they came out. Then Strides came out, and Strides immediately undid the delete, as far as I was aware. But give them another shot. I think we can bring them back. Bring back the Vanish delete. Bring back Greyon. You know what? Bring back Oxys. I really want to see Oxys back. He's so cool. Did anybody watch the Cardfight Vanguard movie? It's not very good, but it does have the coolest deleter. Oxys, who gets one showing, then disappears from public consciousness forever. Like, he doesn't even get a V retrain. Why doesn't he get a V retrain? So, what have we learned from this? There's a lot of money in the nostalgia market, and if Bushiroad wants to tap into that, we will be helpless to stop them. And a lot of you I've seen online complain about Keter Sanctuary and Dragon Empire being the favorite children, but have posted nothing but Keter Sanctuary and Dragon Empire in my comment section. I'm on to you. Alright, that's all from me. Bye-bye, and have a really good new year ahead. Hopefully it's a lot better for everyone. Take care. Like, Uranus deck set. That's not a good name for it.